So today I talk about losing to girls, go girls, and dealing with being bad, anger management, and why you might not be so altruistic when you're giving advice. Welcome to Mind Games TV, episode 42. We have kind of a special show for you today. I have one big email that I got with 3 huge questions, and I'm going to break it down. So this is like the show of Garrett. So thank you for waiting, Garrett, and being patient while I kind of got through everybody else's questions on the way to this massive show. Thank you, everybody. The response has been outstanding to my call for like topics and ideas for the show, and I see some repeat visitors in there, some people who are sending in questions over and over again, so you guys are champions, superheroes. Remember, use hashtag AskWeldon on Twitter or Instagram to get your question on the show, or go to mindgames.gg/TV and just use the form there. Also, thanks for the comments about the new layout, the new structure of the show. We're going to keep, going through with it for a week and then reassessing things and adding things and changing things. So keep saying what it is that you like and what it is that you don't like about the new flow and what it is that you want to see. And also, I hope that the sound quality is better. As you can see, like the background is not changing as much. I'm not in a different location every day, but the plus side is that I'm always the same distance from the microphone, which is hooked up to my stand. So hopefully, sound is a little bit more important than me doing shows in the woods and stuff like that. And eventually I'll get a cool, lapel mic or something, and I'll be able to actually do various shoots from fun places and keep the excitement high. So yeah, let's get into the show.
Garrett asks, I guess my question is, how do I deal with being bad, basically? What can I do to keep myself going day to day? Because right now, after practice, I feel down on myself.
I was a competitive swimmer for 19 years, and I took a break kind of at the end of high school, did a bunch of other sports, went back in college, and when I started swimming, I guess this would be my second or third year of college, or first or second year of college. When I started swimming again, I was, in a completely new environment, and I was at the end of the pool, so in the slow lane, obviously, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, Dave or Mike, or some really cool guy who was also who was like a high school swimmer, and then like 5 or 6 of the slow girls. And so in swimming, you swim along, and you get, you have a set, and you swim in a loop, and you have to sort out by speed, because if you don't sort out by speed, people will be tapping on your feet, trying to like not run into you, and they'll look up and they'll be like, oh, I'm stuck behind this guy. So it's very brutal. Like, you're ranked every single moment, every single day, every single drill, and everybody always knows exactly how much you have in the tank, because like if you're 3.5 hours into practice and you're doing a set of 2100s on time, and the person behind you has got a higher pace than you because they're faster and stronger, then they have to go in front of you, or else it's going to cause a pile up in the pool. So you have to get pretty good at accepting your place there, at the bottom of the pool, the end of the lowest rung, kind of like getting lapped by women. And even though you beat them in the sprint, because testosterone is like so incredibly useful for muscle power, or size or whatever, that has nothing to do with endurance. So I get you about being bad. And what I did to keep myself going day to day was I had an incredibly mastery focused mindset. Okay. So when you're on a team and you are pursuing with people, when you're pursuing optimal performance, mastery performance with people, it is really helpful to get into the mindset of not ranking yourself and competing for the sake of being better than somebody else, but competing for the sake of being better than yourself at the beginning of the day. So at the end of practice, are you better than you were at the start of practice? And you have to find what it is that you value in the activity of itself and pursue it for that sake. So when I was swimming, I knew I told myself every day that in 2 years, I was going to be at the top of that pool. I was going to be in the fast lane. I was going to be sub 50 seconds in my 100 meters. And every single day, I would gauge myself and I'd see how far that I came. And I pursued it for the sake of my own edification in improvement. And when I broke that 50-second barrier, when I swam my first 48-second 100-meter or 100-yard, that might have thrown you off if you guys are meter swimmers, but any yards are a little bit shorter, so you can go faster. All of the work paid off, and it was that moment that I valued because of all, and it wasn't a competitive moment. I'm competing against myself there in striving to get better. So yeah, I went and I still lost the swim meet to everybody who was swimming 47s and 46s something, but I'm still proud of the years of work I put in to attain that time. And at some point, it's just other people's time. Yours will come if you keep pursuing things and getting pushed by the idea of success. And if you get pushed by other people's success, then you will find a moment where your opportunity lines up with your skill set. And for me, it's coming here in my 30s. So I pushed myself many times throughout my life. And those were not, those were other people had the time to shine in those moments because, things lined up for them better chronologically, physically, whatever it was, time-wise. I mean, I was playing lots of Counter-Strike at that point, so maybe I could have trained harder. I don't know. But my point is, if you can't kind of go halfway in anything you do because you never know if this is going to be the thing that goes through your life. And I'll give you an example. Ariana Kukers, who lost out her chance to go to the 2008 Olympics by, was it 1/100th of a second? So the less than the width of the white part of the fingernail. I think I used this example the other day. She decided that she was going to get pushed by the success of the people who were in front of her, who beat her, and ended up going, in the next Olympics and breaking world records and, becoming a world champion and a medalist. So, push yourself for your own sake. That's my advice.
Garrett asks, I struggle with being very mad. Are there things I can do to help keep myself calm?
Okay, so I have very good advice for this, and I don't know why I have my kids nail clippers wrapped around my fingers. I'm just fiddling with stuff, but if you hear any weird clicking sounds, it's this, or if I'm pointing with it. So you struggle with emotional control. If you go back and you watch episode 41 of Mind Games TV, you'll hear me talk about how it's difficult to impossible to have two different emotional states in your mind at the same time. So you want to replace it with one that you've trained, and the one you should train is gratitude because it's the precursor to joy and it's a high performance state. And you need to learn to replace and reprogram your emotions. Okay, if you want to do this. You can, of course, just ignore your emotions and perform anyway, which is another option, which you can train. But anyway, get focused on the present. Consider the things that you're grateful for. Start listing them out. If you train it daily, it can be very powerful. I shared my story in episode 41, so go check that out. My favorite tool for this, as I mentioned then, is the 5-minute journal, and you can find that on mindgames.gg/tools.
Garrett asks, what are the best ways to give advice to people? Things get heated and bad things are said. What can I do to make sure we continue to improve and look at things without taking them super personally?
Giving advice is like coaching. So take the perspective of a coach or a mentor rather than a peer when you're giving feedback. Of course, peer feedback is powerful because you're hearing it from somebody who's on your level, but you want to think in terms of a coach or a mentor. So what does a coach or a mentor really want? Consider what you really want. Do you want to say the thing, or do you want a change in behavior? Okay, these are two very different things. If you just want to tell them where they screwed up for your own satisfaction, for your own feeling, for your own closure, for your own emotional psychosis or whatever, that is very different than wanting their behavior to change so that everybody's better off, so that you can win the game, okay? So if you really, truly, 100% want a change in behavior, and you don't just want to say the thing, which is most often what our urge is, then you need to understand how change happens. Because I would bet that 90% of the time, telling them where they screwed up is the most useless thing that you can do to create behavior change. All right. So number one, awareness of a problem. This is where you might need to tell them, point out areas where there could be improvement. Okay. Things they don't already know. Maybe they already know. Most of the time we already know what our mistakes are before we make them or after we make them, or you can pick them out yourself if you just watch the game. Okay. So awareness of the problem, stage one. Okay. Maybe you have a leg in it, telling them, where they messed up. But once they get up to like a more advanced stage of behavior change, so they're working on it, then pointing out where they screwed up is not only kind of useless, but also detrimental. What people need at this phase is they need support and praise for when they do it right. So they can track mentally how many times they're doing it correctly versus how many times they're screwing it up. So they can start to witness the path, witness the result of the effort they put in. So they're more intrinsically motivated to put in more effort to change the behavior, to get more focused. And pointing out where they're going wrong over and over and over again is like negative reinforcement. And so it's reinforcing, but it's not the kind that usually leads to an intrinsic motivation to pursue perfection. Rather, you get into an avoidance state where you don't want to do the thing because you don't want to get yelled at, which does not bring the kind of deep task focus that's necessary for rewriting your motor neurons like really fast and really quickly. Okay, third stage, not third stage, but moving on, they might be past kind of behavioral change and maintenancing. So here they're doing it more or less correctly and slipping up, and they need to be told in this phase that it's okay to slip up, that they came so far, and not to fear the error, but to focus on perfection, on pursuit of perfection, not actual perfection, pursuit of perfection. Okay, so like people are going to slip up, and they're going to know that they slipped up because they've already kind of fixed this and they're working on it. And they don't need to be told and pointed out, oh, by the way, you messed up there. They're like, I know, hello, do you think I'm stupid? Like, I've been working on this for months. Okay, they know what's going on, and what they really want is like constructive criticism and pushing in terms of like recognizing the work that they put in. Okay, so I have some other advice related to this because there are other kinds of advice besides behavior change and coaching. And sometimes it just has to be about, social dynamics or personal things. And sometimes confrontation is good. Like you want confrontation. These things are called essential confrontations, and you have to learn how to do them. You have to confront people when, there's racism, or when somebody's bullying somebody, or when there's a learning moment and the person is not accepting the fact that, they're being stubborn or not accepting criticism or whatever. And these kind of confrontations can be very teaching and very useful. And I'll talk more in future shows because there's some other questions that came up about confrontations. Essentially like how it is that I try to get confrontations like more equal so that everybody's taking part in them. But that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. This is like a special because I got all 3 questions in one email. So thank you, Garrett, for that. And feel free to do kind of the same thing if you want in the future, other people who are listening. And I will see you tomorrow. I would like to leave you with a quote by an author this time. So enjoy. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their minds wake in the day to find that all was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes and make it possible. T.E. Lawrence.